Hello, this is Haiku here for another deck tech going through the mono red decks for Historic Pauper. Mono red, or red in general, I shouldn't say mono red. Red in general, I feel is the strongest color in Historic Pauper. So there's a lot of flexible offerings. So I'm going to go through three mono red options, but there's plenty of ways that you can beef up red by pairing it with other colors. I really feel like it pairs really well with a lot of different black archetypes for a lot of different Rakdos type decks, which I'll be going through if I have time in the upcoming videos. So like and subscribe so you can get notified when those Rakdos videos come out. So going into the first mono red variant with Kiln Fiend. If you go back through my old videos, you can see some decks with Kiln Fiend. Pretty kind of standard deck. Basically tries to land. This one is slightly different where it's not all in on the Kiln Fiend strategy. So I'm not playing Temur Battle Rage. I'm just playing Festival Crasher and Kiln Fiend and a lot of cantrips to pair with them to just deal a little bit of damage. So I'm looking to get 7 to 10 damage in with the Kiln Fiend on the turn it attacks. So basically forces opponent to be burning removal on that one. And then you can end the game with Archer and Flamebreather pinging away at the opponent's life total. The thing that makes this deck burr well is 8 draw 2s between Reckless Impulse and Wrenn's Resolve. Very, very powerful. So it allows you to find your 2-drops, which unfortunately, this deck, there's not really a lot of good 1-drops you can play. On the mono red Sligh deck that I'm going to show next, you'll see that there are some powerful 1-drops, but they don't quite fit into this deck. But basically, you just land a Flamebreather or a Kiln Fiend type creature, and then just run the Resolve and cantrip your way into victory. Occasionally, you have to remove if they have any lifelink creatures. So you can win the race, but this is probably one of the fastest decks. It doesn't have to deal with any tap lands, and it puts a lot of pressure on the opponent to remove your creatures every single turn that you land one. So a very scary deck. The reason why I like this one compared to the Kiln Fiend all-in variants with Temur Battle Rage is those can really peter out if they don't get the Kiln Fiend or the Festival Crasher, or that deck even plays another similar card that gives +2/+0 for every instant or sorcery. And then this deck is much more well-rounded and able to finish out the game much easier. So that's Kiln Fiend variant. And obviously, you can play any kind of on the spectrum here of going more burn base and less reliant on the Kiln Fiend and Festival Crasher plan. And so you would be cutting these cantrips for burning the opponent rather than spending time just drawing cards, because you end the game with like infinite cards in hand and are in exile because of these effects. So you never really run out of cards, so you don't really need the cantrips. The nice part about these is they push more damage through with your Kiln Fiends, especially the Tramplers, obviously. All right, moving on to the next one. So I'm just calling it Sligh because it's going to rely on the powerful 1-drops to deal a little bit of damage and then finish the game with a couple burn spells. Not too crazy. I'm basically just relying on Pauper's version of oh gosh, I forgot the name. Anyway, someone in the please comment below the oh my goodness, Goblin. Well, the name escapes me, but the one that reveals a land off the opponent's deck and allows them to draw it. But anyway, so we have this card, a 2/2 with haste. You just have to play a little bit of weird cards to turn it on. So playing Voldaren Epicure, Experimental Synthesizer, and Implement, and Batterfist. Batterfist is probably the weakest card that I'm playing. Obviously, that's why it's only a 2 of, to try to make sure that this gets turned on fairly frequently. Then Blast-Runner, a very, very solid 1-drop. Generally, you're just looking to get in for 1 time. Sometimes you get in for 2 times. The ways to turn it on are less compared to if you're playing Rakdos, because then you get the sack lands to turn it on. In this deck, you're really relying on sacking Implement to club or Synthesizer to club to turn him on and get him going. Batterfist also can get sacked to club. Then the rest of the, basically you're just playing some burn spells to finish off the game between Club and Lightning Strike and Skewer, and then that same package of the 8 draw spells. And then this one gets to play with Synthesizer, which is like basically another draw spell. Don't be afraid to just crack this on turn 4. It's also a pretty reasonable play, but sometimes you have to sack it to Club. But yeah, Synthesizer is just kind of just to turn on Raider. This deck I would put just less explosive and less consistent than Kiln Fiend, but it's another option if you like to play more kind of Sligh based decks. Another kind of important card, there is another 2/2 with haste that you could play. It's just a little bit hard to turn this guy on. I would probably play more Shocks instead of Lightning Strikes or Pillar of Flames to turn him on a little bit faster. But yeah, he's another very solid option if you want to go the attack with 2/2s and finish the game with burn route. And obviously Voldaren Epicure is just solid, getting 1 damage in when it comes into play, and then giving you another artifact and a sack object for the Blast-Runner. Then the last mono red deck is the Goat Wide mono red deck. So, you know, these are all basically the same, but Gnawing Crescendo is slightly stronger in this deck. But basically, you're just trying to play all of the spells that create 2 1/1s, and then just finish the game with Gnawing Crescendo. The reason why I'm playing the spells over the Instigator, even though Instigator plays well with Gnawing Crescendo, it's just to turn on the Lava Runner a little bit faster. And then Aether Chaser, I like it that it has first strike and it does create a creature eventually, but it's nice in the early games to get in a couple damage. And then here's another new card from Eldraine that we get to make another 2/2s. It slightly costs a little bit more, but it's still very solid. So this deck is obviously great against the the Tithing Blade focused decks, because obviously they just get wrecked by this. But this deck is definitely a glass cannon. You will have some struggles. One thing nice though is you can rebuild pretty easily with the 8 draw spells, and then you have a land that also creates another creature, which is kind of nice. I don't like playing this in the other decks. They don't really need the 1/1, and the tap land really hurts them, where this deck actually sometimes goes long, and so having a 1/1 get created is actually kind of important. Right now I'm only playing the 5 pump effects, and this one is the combo where you can make the creatures or you can make the pump effect. I think this is a reasonable place to start, but you can certainly play with those numbers and play more. As far as other cards that to consider, Outnumber is obviously a strong card in this style deck, but the deck really, you don't really care about single creatures except if they're lifelink. You're more just interested in filling out the board and then crescendoing for a huge attack alpha strike. And then Voldaren Epicure is another consideration in this deck as well. Improvised Club, obviously, since you have so many tokens, it's really easy, and it's nice to have Club versus the lifelink creatures. So then you can alpha attack in, and then you can sack the creature that got blocked by the lifelinker. So it's always a nice play. It's a consideration to play Flame Breather in this deck since you have so many spells, but in the end I decided I'd just rather just get more creatures, so then these pay off better. But that's another consideration of where you can take the deck. So yeah. You know what? Actually, I'm just going to move the club in. I think you should play with at least 1 club just for that threatening burn and to finish off the game. We'll take one of these out. Let's see. Yeah, and then Outnumber, again, another consideration, but not totally required. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed these red decks. Again, red pairs really well with a lot of other decks, so you'll be seeing some other types of red decks paired with different colors soon. I guess you already saw the Ninja deck. So comment down below what's your favorite color so far. Next, I'm going to move on to the mono green variants. See ya.